Welcome to The Composer's Life. Hello, welcome to today's episode. My name is Nadia. I'm your host, and just a little bit about me. I'm a composer and just starting my career in film scoring. So, this is just a podcast about what a composer's day to day life is like. Today, we're going to be talking about the process of composing. So, I've kind of split this into two sections where I'm going to talk about my personal process that I go through when I sit down to compose in the day and finish. And the second section is going to be some tips for you in case you have reached a point in your writing where you want to change things up because you have writer's block or you need some inspiration or you just want to know where to start when you compose. So, this is all based off of my own experience and some things that I've, of course, learned and picked up from other people as I've gone along. And I'm sure this will change in the future as well. So, this is just my personal way of doing things and my journey, and I will update you as I go along as well. So, to go into our first section, which is the process, so what it's like to actually sit down, write some music, and then stop during the day. I split composing into two sections as well, which would be natural or organic composing, where you just kind of sit down and write whatever you want to. And the second kind of composing, I would say, I'm going to call it purposeful, which is where you have a certain project that you're working on. Maybe it's a film score, a video game score, a commission, or just something that you are purposely sitting down to practice or write for. So, depending on these two types of composition, things may change in my own process. So I'm going to talk about organically composing first. I play piano. That's my main instrument. So that's where I like to go to compose. Sometimes I might have an idea in mind. Other times I just want to sit down to write something. So I always like to make sure that I have a paper, a pencil, paper meaning like staff paper, and my phone because I like to record my what I play just to remember better for next time. So I have all of those things ready. I go to the piano, and then I sit down and I either improvise something out that I don't know, I just sit down, kind of play whatever comes to mind, or if I already have an idea, I try to work it out on the piano, come up with, you know, some left hand with it or whatever that might be. So that's kind of where I begin. Um, if I don't have anything in mind, I literally just play whatever. And I keep going until I've come up with a motif or an idea or something that I really like. And once I've found that melody or that little phrase, it's like this spark goes off inside and I just know that that's what I was looking for, and I just keep playing it over and over and over and over again. I record it. Sometimes I write down the notes that I'm playing, like maybe the melody line or whatever that might be, just for my own clarification for when I come back to it later. But I like to make sure I document what I'm doing so that I don't have to sit down the next day and be like, "Oh yeah, what did I play yesterday? Like I really liked it, but I cannot remember what it was." So yeah, I find this phrase that I love, I repeat it over and over again. And that's kind of when my high of composing begins. It's when that spark goes off and I'm like, "Yes, this is it." So I play it and then I start, adding another section, whatever that might be, just kind of building on it. And then I reach a point where I know I've finished what I've sat down to do. So that high kind of comes down again. And that's when I'm like, okay, um, if I haven't recorded it yet, like let's record it, make sure we have everything, and then I'm I'm done composing. And I don't always finish a piece in one sitting. Actually, I would say 99% of the time, I do not sit down, write an entire piece of music, and say, wow, that was great, I'm done. I think that composing can be way more complicated than that. It can be simple as well, but it's not like you ever finish composing a piece. It's just there's a point where you choose to walk away from it and say, okay, it's done, even though you probably could do more to it. That's just, I feel like, what art and creating art is like in general. So that's my organic process. Now, if I'm doing a specific project like film scoring or video game scoring or whatever that is, I will obviously look at my notes from the person that I'm doing this for. So if there's a certain genre they want or a certain form, certain descriptive words, like maybe it's a horror movie, so they want something kind of ominous and creepy, or maybe it's like a love song and they want something very light and waltzy and giddy. So I kind of sit down, look at those notes, and then I just improvise. Again, I just, yep, there's no way, no way else to say it than I just improvise. Um, and I kind of go through the same process that happens in the organic, where once I've reached an idea that I know is what I was looking for, that spark goes off and the process continues from there and is pretty similar to the one I just described. So that is the process of composing for me just in a day. So not the entire composition, but just sitting down to start something. I will now go to the second section, which are tips I have for you that have worked for me and that I use a lot of the time, especially when I feel like I've reached this block in my writing or I feel like I can't write anymore. I've run out of ideas or whatever that might be. So I have 5-ish tips that I'll share with you. The first thing I would say is choose a time every day when you're going to compose. If this is something that you love doing and it's your passion, you should set time aside to do it as often as you can. If it's your career, you should set time to do it every day. So I don't necessarily do it at the same time, like Monday through Saturday, but I do make sure when I wake up in the morning to choose the time when I'm going to do that in the day. So um, I wake up and I plan my day out and say, like 9 to this time, I will be just sitting down and composing. Um, and then obviously, if you have a project you're doing, you need to get that done. So that is an important thing to work on it as often as you can. And when you do that, it's important to commit to it. So don't let any distractions or other excuses come up that get in the way of that. Make it a priority in your day. The second tip I have is to make sure everything physical in your environment is prepared. So, like I said, I like to have staff paper and a pencil and my phone. That way I know I have what I need so that I can come back to it later. Other people might like their computer to write it down, or maybe you use a DAW to compose in. Another thing would be, make sure the door is shut, make sure you have charge on the technology that you're using. Just make sure everything in your physical environment is prepared so that it won't be a distraction during your composing process. The third tip I have for you is to put a timer on. I don't do this every day. I do this when I find myself getting distracted really easily. So sometimes I'll turn my notifications off of my phone and then put a 40-minute timer on and, set it aside. And I just commit to that 40 minutes I am composing and I'm not doing anything else. And when you repeatedly do this every day, like you're setting the time aside and you have a certain time frame that you're doing it in, your mind starts to get used to this and your inspiration and creativity will actually start to come on demand. So it's just a really good thing that maybe you don't have to do every time you compose. You definitely could if it helps you. But it's a good way to train yourself to know, like, okay, I sit down, I compose, and I'm going to get this much done within this 40 minutes. And, you know, it's on demand basically after you've practiced it for a couple months or weeks or however long it takes you. So, My next tip, number 4, would be to plan out what you're going to compose before you sit down to compose it. I don't necessarily mean plan out like, oh, I'm going to have 3 sections doing this and this and this, but more like you need to know if you're going to do an organic composition or a purposeful composition. So decide what it is you're actually going to be working on. And then if you're going with organic composition, but you need some ideas maybe because it's not working to just sit down and try playing something, you could, a few ideas that I have used in the past. You could choose a picture that you like. You could think of a film that inspires you or a scene. Think of an emotion that you want to try and compose off of, a piece of art. You could think of a memory that inspires something, or, look outside, see what's outside. But anything that kind of sparks something. It's always a really cool exercise to sit down with, even like a poem or a picture and just see what you come up with. That's a great way to organically get creative. If you're going to be doing purposeful composition, so you have a specific project that you want to do or need to do, like I said, sitting down before you compose to go over the notes and what you need to, compose during that time. So when I start out with a project, I try to pick a few themes that I might need. So let's say I'm doing a love story. I probably want a sad theme because usually something sad happens in a love story. I probably want like an excited theme, that buzz where they're falling in love or meeting each other, whatever that is. And then the actual love theme. So I know, okay, I have 3 themes that I need to come up with during this time. Yeah, so there's that. Or perhaps you have a commission of some sort, or maybe you don't have anything that you're getting paid for, but you could choose to sit down and write in a certain style or with certain music theory as a way to practice. So you could say like, okay, today I'm going to try and compose a bit of like a theme and variations, or I'm going to try composing an aleatoric genre, just picking what kind of thing you're going to do. So those are some ideas for when you actually sit down to compose, what you can do to help you come up with that inspiration. The last tip I have, which is tip number 5, is sometimes you need to walk away and come back to it. I know that's not always an option, but like even in the day, sometimes you just need to stop if it's not working out, take a break for an hour and then come back to it later. Or sometimes you need to take a break from it for like a month and come back to a composition. There are plenty that I have just kind of stopped working on and I listen to them later and I'm like, whoa, this really inspires me now. So those are all things that have helped me in my process of composing. And those can be starting points for you or just things you can try if you hit these like writer's block moments. I hope that this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to email me. My email is in the bio of the podcast. If you'd like to hear more as it comes out, make sure you follow it and give it a good rating so that other people can find this and use it as a resource as well. I hope that wherever you are, you have a great day or night and good luck with your composing endeavors. I hope that you can find inspiration from your own life experiences, your surroundings, whatever that is you need to do, and just practice it every day. That's the most important part.